In this video, I will explain how to simplify complex fractions. So I have three examples for us to work through here. Let's check out the first one. We have 5 over x plus 4 divided by 2 over x. So to simplify this complex fraction, we just need to ask ourselves, what is the least common denominator of all of the fractions? So here's one fraction, we have 5 over x, and here's our other fraction, we have 2 over x. So what's the least common denominator between these two fractions? Well, that would just be an x. So what we can do is we can multiply the entire numerator by x. We can multiply the denominator by x as well. So when we have 5 over x times x, the x's would just cancel out and we would be left with a 5. And then we have 4 times x, that's 4x. Now in the denominator we have 2 over x times x, so if we think 2 over x times x, these x's would cancel out and we would just be left with a 2. So that is our final answer for this one, 5 plus 4x over 2. Let's take a look at this second example. We have 3 over x plus 4 over y divided by 2 over y minus 8 over x. So again, we just want to find the least common denominator of all the fractions in this expression. So if we see our first fraction, we have a 3 over x. Here we have a 4 over y. Here we have a 2 over y, and here we have an 8 over x. So what's the least common denominator between all 4 of these fractions? Well, that would just be an x and a y, or xy. So we will multiply the entire numerator by xy, and we'll multiply the entire denominator by xy. And what this will do is it will get rid of all of the fractions in this entire expression. So we have 3 over x times xy. So if we think 3 over x times xy, the x's would cancel out and we would be left with just 3y. So we have 3y, then we have plus 4y times xy. Well, if we think 4 over y times xy, in this case the y's would cancel out and we would be left with 4x. So we have 3y plus 4x. And now down in the denominator we have 2 over y times xy. Well, in that case the y's would cancel out and we would just be left with a 2x. Minus, we have 8 over x times xy. Well, in that case the x's would cancel out and we'd be left with an 8y. So our final answer on this one would be 3y plus 4x over 2x minus 8y. Now let's check out our last example. We have 5x minus 8 over xy divided by 3 over x minus 4 over y. So once again, we'll look at all the fractions in this expression. We'll say, what is the least common denominator of all the fractions? Well, in this fraction, we have an xy as the denominator. In this fraction, we have an x, and in this fraction, we have a y. So once again, the least common denominator for all three of these would just be an xy. Because if we multiply each of those fractions by xy, it would no longer be a fraction. So let's multiply the entire numerator by xy. And let's multiply the entire denominator by xy. So in the numerator, when we multiply this entire expression by xy, the xy's just cancel out, and we're left with 5x minus 8. And down here in the denominator, when we multiply 3 over x times xy, 3 over x times xy, the x's would cancel out. So this x in the numerator and this x in the denominator, and we would just be left with 3y. Minus, we have 4 over y times xy. Well, when we do that, we would have 4 over y times xy. In that case, the y's would cancel out, and we would be left with 4x. So we have minus 4x. And that is our final answer on this one. Thanks for watching.